they published an article about this paper, and then all of a sudden I was getting calls from the biggest newspapers.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode number 3 of the Greg and Arsh podcast.
Today, we are extremely excited to have Ali Abedi, a computer science professor at the University of Waterloo and researcher at Stanford.
And this is a very special episode for Greg and I because Ali taught us one of my absolute favorite courses, which is the big data course. And so, Ali, we are super thrilled to have you today.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah.
I'm very excited to be here too.
Amazing.
Thank you. Okay, so question number 1 is, where did you grow up and how was life there?
So I was born in a small town east of Iran. It's a small town, pretty much like Waterloo, like 100K population.
Wow.
I think life is a little bit slow there. So yeah, that's where I was born.
Cool.
Awesome. So growing up, did you like any sports or hobbies?
Yeah, but when I was in school and also a little bit in high school, I was playing soccer. So for hours and hours, and I don't know how that was even possible because professional players play for 90 minutes and they are exhausted, but we were playing for like 4 hours straight.
Oh my, that's
Wow.
that's crazy.
So I'm guessing you watched the recent World Cup?
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah. the highlights.
Yeah. Do you still play soccer? Do you find the time to play soccer?
No, I think it's a little bit too dangerous for me now. So I play my second favorite sport, which is table tennis.
Oh,
Oh.
yeah. Table tennis. We love that for
Well,
sure.
that was good for Waterloo. Did you ever play in like the Waterloo V1 or anything?
No, I didn't, but I used to go to a club called my table tennis club. That's not mine. That's the name. So yeah, so I started learning table tennis more professionally there.
Oh.
But since I have moved here, I haven't played.
That's okay. Yeah, I got really into ping pong at Waterloo. It's really, really fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so into the more like academic crazy things going on. So why did you decide to do a bachelor's of computer engineering?
Well, I think that's because of one course in high school and later in school, programming. For me, it was so different from other courses. It was not like sitting in a class. It was really, really, really fun. I was looking forward to the next lecture, and I decided that that's what I want to do, computer. And in Iran, it's people typically go to computer engineering instead of like computer science. Like for example, like best students decide to go to computer engineering. It's more prestigious. So, but the thing is, because of that, it's very similar to actually computer science because the name is engineering, but the courses that we take is very similar to computer science.
Awesome. And did that include any statistics or anything like that? Or is that something that you kind of, picked up on your own?
I think main courses are the same, but there are ones that you can select, like the elective ones, I think. So it's really up to you how you want to adjust it. There's a little bit of overlap with computer engineering, like as we have here. So we have a little bit of logic and courses like that, like signal processing. But we had only a few courses like that, but the rest were mostly like computer science, like operating systems and those ugly courses.
Yeah.
Yes.
Those other so like operating systems is ugly. What else is ugly?
I think operating system CS350 is the worst one for students, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. I've heard that from the
I
students.
haven't taught that course, but I used to be the IA for, I don't know, a little bit the TA for that course when I was a PhD student at Waterloo. So I know what's happening in that course.
So you know the struggles then.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Awesome. So after your bachelor's, what did you end up doing?
And then the answer to that question is about another course
Right.
I had during my bachelor's, and that was computer networks. I had a fantastic professor. Unfortunately, he died last week. It was last year, sorry, and it was really sad for me. He was such a great instructor, and he knew stuffs really, really well. I remember he wrote several books on topics related to computer networks, computer security, and things like that. And he was so energetic when he was teaching the course that I really fell in love with the computer networks, especially wireless networks. And so uh, I decided to go to grad school, and because of that, I decided to work on wireless networks or networking in general.
Awesome. Yeah. And so grad school, so that was in Canada.
That was in Canada. I went to the University of Calgary. I did my master's there, and then I went to Waterloo for PhD.
Fantastic. So what made you pick Canada out of, there's very good schools in the States and Europe.
Yeah, so I think very good schools, right? So same as US, I think. And for me, culturally, I preferred Canada, at least at that time. Probably today as well. So I only applied to Canadian schools.
Yeah, fantastic.
But you're in the States right now.
Yes. There are schools that you can
Absolutely.
find in the US only, and Stanford is one of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good one.
Yeah, it's one of the best, of course.
Yeah.
This is a temporary position. So when I decide about a faculty position, a permanent job, which will happen next year, I have to have that in mind. So, but it's good. I think it's a good experience here as well to see how life is here, especially in the Bay Area, because it's something that I think you have to experience to
Yeah.
see the positives and negatives before making a decision to move your life permanently there, especially if you get a faculty position. It's a huge decision, and Bay Area is very unique. I think both in terms of good things and also bad things.
Yeah. What's your favorite and least favorite thing about living in the Bay Area?
I think the best thing is weather is really nice.
Yeah,
I
compared
think
to
except
Waterloo.
that this year there has been like a storm. I think I brought that from Canada. I think
Yeah,
it has been raining here for like 3 weeks straight.
yeah.
It's like flooding somewhere in California now. So, but the weather is really nice, and I think my least favorite thing is about like how expensive here is, and also traffic can be really crazy.
Oh yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, what kind of a building are you living in right now?
So that was a huge change for us. We used to live in a pretty big house in
Mm,
Waterloo.
Yep.
Now we are in a pretty small apartment here.
yeah.
Yeah, that must have been a huge adjustment, eh?
Yes.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. I mean, Waterloo was relatively cheap to live in the last like decade, but I guess in the last like couple years, like Toronto, it's really expensive to live in again now.
Yeah, Waterloo is becoming really expensive. I think we got lucky that we bought the house before the last increase.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
I
no,
think
that's
that's the
amazing.
last chance that you get. There are waves of when that's like your last chance of buying a in a city,
Yep.
and probably we catch that one. And yeah, we were lucky to have that house, and it was nice because we got it right before COVID. It's like a few months before COVID started,
Oh.
and we used to live in a very small apartment in Waterloo, even smaller than the one that we are in right now. So uh, yeah, so we were really lucky because we had to stay home most of the time. So
Yeah.
at least we had a bigger place.
Bigger space, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So, what made you want to become a professor and teach?
Yeah, so I think two things. I really love doing research and also teaching.
Yeah.
So, so the combination of these two translates to professor only, I think. So that's why I have mostly focused on like academic jobs only, and in occasions I consider going to industry, those that are mostly like research oriented, like Microsoft Research. That's really like having a faculty position, except that it doesn't have teaching. So I really like teaching. So and research. So I don't know. I think the perfect job for me is professor.
Yeah, yeah. And between the two, like research and teaching, is there one you prefer?
It's a tough question.
Yeah.
It's no. I think for me, each of them is different kind of fun. So yeah, it's. I think I like both.
Yeah, no, no, absolutely.
And how has your time been like split between those two activities?
Well, it has changed. When I was at Waterloo, it was kind of 50-50, but not all the time because during the terms that I used to teach, the workload was a lot. I couldn't do much research during those terms, but my plan was usually I was trying to free my schedule for the summer or spring term and focus more on research in that term. It's kind of 50-50, but since I moved here, my position here has only research for now. I'm an adjunct professor at the University of Waterloo still, but that's only research again. So for now, it's just research. I think it's a break from teaching for a year or two before I start again.
Wow, yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Oh, so we want to know: have you encountered any challenges during teaching?
Well, yes, especially big data.
Oh yeah, really? I want to know.
Yeah, it
Too much
was
data?
very challenging. I mean, ironically, some of it is related to too much data, because this is and it still is, I think, a very young course. And when I started teaching it, it was only, I think it was taught only a few times by
Oh,
two instructors only. And even not all of the teaching material was ready. So there was like no course note. There was just a set of slides, and they were like slides that work for some people because they know the story they want to tell. It's like a photo of an elephant, and there's nothing there, right? So for you, I mean, the first time teaching it, you don't know really what's going on. There's no course note, so you have to figure out basically and read between lines to like what the story is being told here, right? So it was really challenging. I spent like a few months just pretty much day and night trying to
wow.
prepare for the first time teaching it. It was really tough, and so that was one challenge, really big challenge for me. So I think it made sense at the end because I ended up teaching the course a few times.
Yeah.
So the I think that was amortized over multiple offerings of the course. But in cases I had to completely change the slides. In one case, I remember one session I was working on the lecture, and like the night before, it was 8 p.m. after working on it for like several days. Like the night before 8 p.m., I gave up
Oh,
on the set of slides that I was supposed to teach the next day. I thought like, because I want to make sure my students understand, and I was like, I'm not even comfortable with the story here. So how can I teach something like this? So I think that case I got lucky because I knew that there are some set of slides that were used at the Stanford actually
oh,
for teaching a similar topic. So I thought, why not? I just switched those because it has a very good coverage to what I meant to teach. So let's just switch to those, and I think they saved me.
wow. Yeah, no, that worked out really well. That's amazing.
Yeah. On a related note,
We had
so
technical challenges because you said big data. I think we had technical challenges.
Mm, yeah.
So a lot of technical challenges. So the big data is technically 4 courses.
Oh.
So we have the CS and non-CS versions, so 431 and 451,
Yeah.
and also the graduate versions of those courses. So we have 631 and 651. So 431 and the graduate version and 451 and graduate versions, they are separate courses. The lectures are pretty much the same, but their assignments are completely different.
Wow.
So that means when you're teaching and assignments are released, you have to release 2 sets of assignments, and they are on completely separate platforms.
Oh,
They have
really?
nothing to do with one another. They were designed in a way that they cover the same topics, because as the lecture goes, right, you have to have assignments that are related, but fundamentally they're different. So they are completely different platforms. And we had challenges with 431 for a few terms because the server that we were using kept crashing.
Yep.
It was really annoying. It was really, really annoying. I was waking up 8 a.m., checking Piazza. There are like 20 posts and people
yep.
saying that, oh, it crashed like 1 a.m. And the issue is I was not managing those servers. So I had to contact people, say, hey, can you fix this? And their only fix was, yeah, we have restarted the server.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, but find out why it crashed, because it will crash again today.
Yep.
But they couldn't. I mean, honestly, I mean, I was struggling like for a few terms, and this was the story. Like every time it was crashing, it was crashing. It's really annoying because now you have to extend the deadline. Everything is messed up. So it's annoying for students. I understand, right? You want to work on your assignment, and you have like 2 hours working on this, and now the server crashes, right? So it's really annoying. So I think at the end, I don't know if you guys were like before or after we migrated to Google Colab. So I completely gave up on that system. It was like in the middle of the term, and I was so mad that I said I am going to move to the new platform in the middle of the term because I'm fed up with the series and like the students are suffering. So I moved to Colab in the middle of the term, and it was scary.
No, our class, we used Colab, and it was the first time that I had used Colab, and to this day I use it because it was so amazing to use. So we got lucky, I think.
yeah, that's actually funny because recently, for something that I've been trying to do, I put in a lot of work to try and set up like a Jupyter Hub server that handles that type of stuff as well. And then after like weeks, I also gave up on it. Like, nope, Colab, just Google, you can pay for it, it's free.
That's exactly what we had there. So we're hosting that, and I think there was a memory leakage issue that as soon as we started the Spark assignments, after a while, I think the server was like giving out of memory errors and just crashing.
Yeah.
So they couldn't figure out that. Their best fix was that they were automatically restarting the server at like 2 or 3 a.m. every day just to reset the memory. And that was their best thing. And even that was not working because by like 10 p.m. or so,
Wow.
when everybody is working on the assignment, they would crash the server. It was a nightmare.
That's funny
so bad
because like that's exactly why you'd want to use Spark in general. You have big data to fit it in memory, and then it's like, oh nope, still doesn't work.
So you can see that actually big data affected me.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And the funniest story was, so I can tell you a funny story about this. So a few terms of suffering with the local Jupyter Hub, whatever we had. And so I said, okay, enough. I'm going to switch to Jupyter Hub, and it's Google. So to Jupyter. So Colab, the Google solution. So I said, okay, it's Google, and now I can sleep at night. And it was the night of the project, I think, deadline.
The final project.
And Google had a widespread outage that affected Colab as well. So Colab was down the night of the project.
Oh my.
I was like, what should I do so that the damn server does not go down before the deadline?
Wow. That's crazy because I've used Colab for like hundreds of hours now and I've never had it down.
It was the night of the project, actually.
That was due, yeah.
Wow.
Oh my. That's crazy. So, it's a really interesting perspective because I've only seen it from, being a student. So I've never kind of seen all the struggles that, professors and TAs kind of go through. So it's a very interesting perspective as well. And then, of course, you work very, very hard. So we appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So behind the scene, it's a circus that we are running.
Yeah.
Yep.
And students typically don't see most of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what's great about it is it's like a challenge for you because you care so much about everything working perfectly. I obviously no one would ever name names, not that I even have any, but there's other professors and people that don't care as much, especially about answering people on Piazza. Like, it's really special when you put in the effort to do that.
Yep. Yeah.
I'm glad that you found that useful. Yeah, I try. I care. As I said, I really enjoy. Some professors teaching is just some duty that they have to get rid of
Yeah.
somehow. But I really enjoy teaching, and so for me, it's important that it's a good experience for the students as well.
Yeah, yeah, and it shows. And I know that when COVID hit was when we kind of took the class, and I know that you used to have game nights for students as well to also interact. So that was, of course, very, very special.
Yeah, it was so I think sudden and unexpected. So I think yeah, I think one term, I think it was the second term I was teaching, and it was probably winter of 2020. That's when it
Yeah.
started. Yeah. So it's most of the term was in person, but I think last week or last 2 weeks we had to go online. That was okay because we started with in person, and just we had to somehow deal with the last 2 weeks. But then the next term started, and that was fall 2020.
Yeah.
And by that time, I think everybody was hoping that it disappears, but it didn't,
Yeah.
right? And it was the perspective changed completely, and now we are looking at teaching one term completely online without seeing students. And it was a chaos, to be honest with you. Again, that's also another level of behind the scenes, because uh, when something like that happens, now the university needs to get involved to make sure things are okay. The department needs to get involved.
Yep.
But again, I found all of that uh, insufficient. And I didn't even like the recommendations, and I didn't follow some of them because I wanted to have, I think, more interaction. Let's
Yeah.
say, for example, the school was uh, s- uh, saying don't have live lectures. They were against live lectures.
Oh.
The reason was that some people may not be able to attend. So I said, okay, so I have live lectures, but I'm going to record it and put it online, right? So the worst case is that the student cannot attend, they can watch the videos, right? At
Yep.
least we have the interaction for those who want to have that level of
Absolutely.
engagement, right?
Yep.
And that's how they learn. So we did that, and some other stuff like game nuts, because again, we wouldn't see each other. Especially most of the students would turn off their video,
Video,
and
yeah.
I was talking to my monitor. So uh, it's tough. It's really tough for the instructor as well, because talking for like 1 hour, 1 hour 20 minutes to a wall is very
It's
challenging
hard,
to
yeah.
keep you, especially for me, because I want to have the energy throughout the lecture. But it's very tough. But it's fun because it's good, because at least some students uh, uh, were kind enough to show their faces, so that we could get some, I think, reactions, and
Yeah.
that's good. But yeah, but still we don't see most of the students, so we said, oh, let's have game night, so we play games. So some students attended those, so we had some meetings, informal meetings. We just get together and talk about random stuffs. So I thought at least part of the interaction that we miss can be, I think, covered by these activities.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. Did you ever have any problem with like the tests? Because I remember going through that as a student. Everyone at Piazza was always talking about how like their different time zone and how a test is like scheduled at this certain time. Like, how did you deal with that kind of thing?
Well, I didn't because because I thought about it, and then I, I figured out that there's no good solution.
Yep.
Right. Again, looking at what the school was saying, right, I was like, it makes no sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because having a test, so big data used to have final exams. And I think it's happening this term
Ah.
again with the newest instructor, so you have to see. But I think when I was teaching, it only happens once. The first time I taught, because the second time was that winter that it became online, so I canceled the exam. Um, uh, I looked at different options, like what can we do, and then doing a test. As it said, time is one issue, but for me, the bigger issue was cheating,
Yep.
Oh
and
yeah.
cheating is bad, it's unfair to people who do not cheat,
Yep.
and
Yes.
that really bugs me,
Yep.
Yep.
and I cannot go forward with an option that has that problem. So
Mm-hmm.
I can't. I mean, that's definitely a no go for me. If I see something like that, then I say, okay, no, I don't, because that's really 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 bad. I mean, someone who's honest, right, and then they get a lower mark, that's really bad. So I said, okay, no exam. But what should we do, right? I mean, that's like 50% of the mark is still
Yeah.
Yeah.
in the air. So we defined a project. So I thought that that would be better, doing working on something probably relevant to COVID or something like that. So
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, it's more fun, and I think probably more fair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I agree with all your decisions there for sure.
Absolutely.
Um, in general, do you like the idea of tests and big weighted exams disregarding COVID and online stuff?
No, but in many cases, I don't know what the alternative would be.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's the issue. So it's like that's the best thing that we have, right? But tests, no, because people perform differently, not because of their knowledge, but because of how they handle their anxiety, for
Yeah.
example,
Yeah.
something that's irrelevant here. So that's why, so myself included, I mean, whenever there's an exam, I'm really stressed. So, and I
Mm-hmm.
cannot help it, right? Even if there were exams that I got the only full mark in that class, there were 100 students. I was stressed during that exam too. So,
Yeah.
so you can see, I hate exams myself, but I think we cannot really do much. But I think for me, COVID was a good excuse to cancel exams and switch to projects.
Projects. Yeah.
So and it's actually much more work for me, because when we have exams, we would sit down with TAs and we mark all the exams in like a few hours, several hours at most. But now with the projects, I thought I cannot just ask TAs to mark them, because it becomes, because it's so, I think, uh, subject. So I wasn't sure if there we can come up with a fair evaluation.
Yeah.
So my decision was, okay, I have to mark everything,
Wow.
and it took me some time, really, like a few weeks
Wow.
to mark
To go
everything.
through
It's
everything.
that was fun.
Yeah.
So it's much more work for me for sure, but I'm
Wow.
happier than having an exam, because I think it's better for students.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
I know. It's hard to imagine because how long was the video that we had to make? Like 10, 15
Yeah,
minutes, I
like
think.
now I just feel bad because I felt like it was a lot of work to do the project, but you did it like 100 times.
Yeah, you had to do it multiple times.
The time that I put, yeah, probably I put more time marking than individual students
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
on projects. Maybe it's possible,
Yeah.
because like we had in some terms, we had, I think, close to 200 students across all sections,
Yep.
like the four different versions. And so it depends if they do individual or like up to three. So there were many projects. That's why I
Yeah.
was begging these working groups, because at least that reduces the number of projects I have to mark.
Yeah.
But again, there are many, especially for non-CSS students, I think it was more challenging, because CSS students, they know each other, so it's easier for them to form groups. But
Hmm.
for the non-CS version, people come from like different programs, and sometimes they don't know anyone in the class,
Right.
and it's during COVID.
Yep.
So yeah, there's no interaction whatsoever. So it's very difficult for them to find teammates.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did you? I forget. Did you do like after COVID join back to like the normal way of doing things in your classes? Were you there at the time?
Kinda.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the last time I taught was winter 2022.
Okay.
No, is that right? Yeah, yeah. Last year, yeah.
Okay.
So winter was the last term I taught big data, and it was I think at the beginning it was still online for a few weeks. That the school pushed the go back to school deadline a little bit, and I think
Oh, I think it
we
did. Yeah.
went back in February if I remember correctly. So then we started. That was another issue that I had talking about challenges. The problem was the school said now we are in person. That's it.
Yeah.
But I knew that many students uh, cannot or they prefer not to. Especially, it was still, I think there was a new wave coming,
Variant.
something like
Yeah.
that, or people were not comfortable still because the number of people who were infected was pretty high then, and we didn't know what will happen. Especially being isolated for a year or two, and now all of a sudden sitting in a class with many people, and we know air conditioning doesn't work in many
Yeah.
buildings. So so I was like, what can we do? So I decided to keep offering the online version. So I would go to the class, and I had my I and the same. So it is Zoom or the Teams we were using. So I would share my slides. I would share my video, my audio, everything. So it was like so many things happening at the same
Yeah.
time, and so people could join online or in class, or they could watch the videos.
Yeah.
And I think it helped me too, because or other students, because then the classes were like there were fewer students in the class because of this, because of other options. So it was a little bit better. It was the room, because I know that my class was pretty much at capacity. So if people wanted to join, it would be really bad because there was like 100 students or
Wow.
more in the class.
Oh.
So
Yeah.
but like 20 or 30 students showed up. So it was not too bad.
All right. So you weren't speaking to a wall, which is good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But then the issue is that now I have this huge mask on my face. So that's what I don't
Oh.
like. So they cannot see my face. I cannot see their faces.
Yeah,
So
and
I
it's
don't know.
difficult to talk in a mask, eh? Like we know for an hour or so it's hard. Yeah.
It's very difficult. Yeah,
Yeah.
especially I was wearing one of those like 5 layer
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
N95 masks. And I think the first time it was in a bigger class, but I think I thought, okay, it's enough if I speak loudly. I think everybody can hear me. But then after that session, I almost lost my voice.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I
I
said, okay,
can
no, I'm going
imagine.
to use the microphone next
Yeah.
time. So the pressure it has on you, especially even just giving lecture for like 1 hour twice a day because of the two lectures,
Hmm.
it's pretty taxing. And now with that thing on your face, it's oh my god, it's really tough.
It's really tough. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we have like 20 to 25 minutes left. So I guess, do you want to tell us about WiPeep? Is that how you say it?
Yeah, so a little bit about my research.
Yeah.
So as I said, my research area is mainly um, uh, wireless systems and mobile systems. And this is a new line of research that I've started recently, which has been really fun, and it has been crazy in terms of reactions and the feedback we got. Because when this paper was published, I'm going to talk about it a little bit. The university, I think media relation, they published an article about this paper, and then all of a sudden I was getting calls from the biggest newspapers
Oh.
about yeah, like the Toronto Sun. I think that's the biggest
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
newspaper.
Definitely.
All of them they contacted,
Wow.
and we had interviews,
Wow.
and then different websites started to pick up, or they wrote their own version, or
Hmm.
they pretty much reposted what the university posted, and it went crazy. I mean, it's I cannot believe how many posts I saw, like news outlets or like technical weblogs, very famous security weblogs wrote about it. So, okay, enough advertisement. I tell you what it is. So this is about privacy, and basically telling you a little bit. Back in 2020, I found a loophole in the Wi-Fi protocol. And the loophole is like this. It's pretty simple, actually. So in Wi-Fi networks, we typically have a password, right? So, and I think the assumption is that all communication should happen within a network. And basically, somebody who does not have the password for that network should not be able to communicate with the devices inside that network, right? So we found that it's not true. So we found that if a stranger who's not authenticated in your network sends a fake packet to one of your devices, your device, their device's Wi-Fi physical layer, sends back an acknowledgement, which is part of the protocol, by the way, right? I mean, your phone does that all the time with the access point when they talk, but we were not expecting this to happen between a stranger device and our device, right? We thought, why would it acknowledge receiving that packet that's coming from nowhere, right? I mean, why
So
would I even
wait,
care about it?
sorry. How does a stranger send someone a message? How does that happen?
So this is called packet injection. That because normally first you have to establish communication with the network, right? And then you can send just regular IP packets, whatever, right? But here, what we do, some Wi-Fi devices are capable of this injection mechanism. So packet injection is just a process of sending raw bits in the air. So we create a packet, a Wi-Fi packet, and we send it over the air. And like all the fields are garbage except the MAC address of the receiver. So the sender address is just garbage. The payload is garbage, but the receiver MAC address is a real MAC address. So we send the packet. When the device receives it, it figures out, oh, it's for me because it's my MAC address, and it checks to see if the packet is healthy, so all bits are okay. If that's the case, it sends back an acknowledgement saying that, hey, I got the packet. This is the Wi-Fi standard mechanism. But the part that basically this is possible with a stranger device was what we found. So at that time, I realized that this probably causes a lot of privacy issues. You may say, okay, even if you force my phone to send back some acknowledgement, what is the privacy issue here? Because the acknowledgement doesn't have any data in it, right? It's just a packet saying I got your packet, right? So there's nothing there. So the issue is, it's very interesting and kind of scary, is that someone from outside the house can, or any building basically, can send these fake packets to any device, like your phone, your smartwatch, smart TV, whatever that has Wi-Fi in it. And then your devices start sending back these acknowledgements, right? And now these acknowledgements are wireless packets, and they are just wireless signals that are going everywhere, including passing through walls and going back to the attacker who's outside. And then they can look at that signal to infer all sorts of information. So we have done two papers on this. One is WiPeep, which is a localization attack. So in this attack, a drone that has some Wi-Fi chipset on it, it flies over a building and it finds the location of all Wi-Fi devices inside that building. Within 1 or 2 minutes, it finds the location of all Wi-Fi devices. And because we
Wow.
carry our phones and smartwatches with us, that means it can find the location of people as well.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
it gives information to someone outside that building. Like, for example, oh, it looks like everybody is in the basement. The second floor is empty, something like that. Or that MacBook is actually in that room. So they know
Oh.
where it is.
Yep.
Or even in more serious setups like a bank. There are some guards in that bank, and if they have a cell phone on them, someone can run this attack and figure out, oh, there are 3 guards, and that's where they are right now.
Yep.
Wow.
That's
So what kind of
And it
information?
uses
Sorry.
the loophole that we found.
yeah.
Basically, they start attacking those devices, and by measuring the time it takes for the packet to go there, and we get a response back, we can measure our distance to the Wi-Fi device, and then the drone keeps flying and performs that measurement from different locations, and then it does some sort of triangulation. It's more complex than that, but it's like that. So you know the distance from different places, so you know, okay, that's where the device is located.
Wow.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, that is really cool.
So this is the one that there were like a million news articles on it, and more recently we have done maybe a more scary version. With this one, we have now the preprint is available. The paper is still under review. In this one, we show that someone from outside the building can find the breathing rate of people inside that building if there is a Wi-Fi device within their 5 feet distance.
Breathing? How'd you get breathing?
So we do the same thing. So we force devices to send back acknowledgements, and then your body interacts with the signal. Okay, so it's like it reflects the signal, it absorbs the signal, and when you breathe, your chest moves slightly, but that's enough to cause a tiny bit of distortion in the wireless signal that someone outside the building can actually analyze the signal and see actually, yep, I can see this pattern in the signal, and that's your breathing pattern.
That's insane.
That's really cool.
That's crazy.
So probably another million articles on this one when they figure out about it, because it's not out yet. It's just we just put the preprint.
You heard it here first.
So it's the first time talking about it.
Yeah. Wow.
So I guess the obvious follow-up question is, what do you do about that in the world moving forward? What do you do about that?
Yeah.
Well, I think that fundamentally we have to stop that loophole that I talked about, that when you receive a packet, you should not just send back an acknowledgement. You have to figure out where it's coming from, and it doesn't make sense. You should not send back anything, probably. That's the best way. But it looks like from what we found, it's not possible, at least today, with today's technology, because of some restrictions in the hardware. So we kind of gave up on fixing that issue. But for individual problems, like for example, for the localization attack or for the breathing attack, we came up with solutions specifically for those kind of attacks to do something that basically hide that information that the attacker is trying to infer.
Right. Yeah.
Cool. So do you see any sort of like military applications or weird kind of things all sprouting from this?
I wrote a proposal a few years ago before actually doing this research, because I knew that it's probably possible, and the Department of Defense of Canada showed interest in the localization and also this attack.
Yeah, okay.
Cool. Very nice.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess next question is, what have you been up to at Stanford?
So I'm working on a few projects here, mostly a project called Spectrum X. So this is a very big project that involves more than probably 10 universities here. So Stanford, Berkeley, UCLA, and many other universities.
Wow.
And it's about the spectrum, the wireless spectrum, and trying to solve problems. And the approach that we have there is we are building these cheap sensors that we can deploy over a large area, and then we monitor radio frequency spectrum. So there are many applications there, from policy making, like governments want to know like how the spectrum is being used, because it's very expensive. You probably have heard that cellular carriers pay billions of dollars to get access to small bandwidths. So it's about like understanding how it's being used, which is a very difficult problem, especially at the scale of a country.
Mm-hmm.
So and also many other scientific applications as well. For example, we are working with the MIT Haystack Observatory. They have a radio telescope, and we are trying to figure out a way that they can use other spectrum, other frequencies. Because right now because what they do, they try to listen to a particular frequency, right? Like tuning your radio to a particular frequency. They go to somewhere very silent that there's nothing coming from the earth, but they try to see if they can hear anything coming from space. And they can do that, but their problem is they're limited to those frequencies, but they are also interested in frequencies that, for example, Wi-Fi is using or FM radio is using, but they have no luck because they're trying to listen to something so small in magnitude, but then there's this Wi-Fi, the shouting, or the FM transmitter. So there's no
Yeah.
way. It's like one person is whispering and then the other person is shouting. There's no way you can hear what that person is whispering. So that's the idea. So now what they are trying to do is there a way to basically for them to detect and cancel the interference coming from other devices, and they can still receive those weak signals. So that's one application. If they can do this, they told me that it's really big for radio astronomy, because all of a sudden it gives them access to the entire spectrum basically, instead of just one or two frequencies.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's one of the projects. That's a Spectrum X. So it's a huge project, right? So I'm not doing any of those projects individually, but that's what's a high level
Yeah.
of things that
Yeah.
the entire group is doing. I'm myself. I'm working on a smaller project related to uh, detecting drones near airports, because that's a very uh, problematic issue these days. Because, like, to give you an example, I think since last year there has been close to 100 incidents just near LAX, Los Angeles Airport.
Really?
Oh,
These
really?
are the confirmed cases that, like, the pilot actually saw the drone. That's how
Oh,
close it was. So, and you can imagine that the number of incidents are probably an order of magnitude more than that. So, how can we protect? How can airports know? And, like, in the US, for example, two airports last year started to deploy some systems to detect drones, but we think it's super expensive, and, like, smaller airports, like, have no chance to buy those systems even in 10-20 years
Yeah.
probably.
yeah.
So how can we use these network of cheaper sensors around the airport to help them to detect if a drone is approaching?
Yeah.
That's cool. So, are these drones just like the standard, like you have a video camera, maybe a mic, or are they doing something more, I don't really want to suggest it, but worse?
So there are different techniques for detecting drones, and I think what we are trying to do for the first time is, because there are techniques that one particular station can detect a drone using visual references like a camera or microphone arrays, because they make noise, right? So can you detect the noise coming from the drone, or the wireless signals coming from the drone, because most drones, they communicate with their controllers, and in many cases they stream a video basically that they capture back to the controller. That's how they control it. So can we use the radio frequency signals to detect them? So what we are trying to do is that, can we do that at the scale of a network? Can we have like 100 sensors that they collaborate with one another, and they can use a subset of those methodology actually? I'm mostly interested in the radio frequency, like wireless signals, because that's what I do. But my plan is to collaborate with someone to also incorporate like cameras and things like that into the system.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Sorry, what I also meant was, what are the actual drones doing themselves? Like, why did they have, why are people flying drones around the airport? What are they doing with them?
I don't know. You have to ask them. I think in some cases it might be just accidental, that they don't know
Okay.
that they are within an airfield, because the problem is the zone that's dangerous is pretty big, right? Especially if you are near the final course of the landing final course. So you don't know, you're like 5 miles away, you think you're safe, but you're not. So most modern uh, drones, they warn users that, hey, you are flying within
Mm-hmm.
this airport field, and some of them don't allow them to take off, even although they allow users to overwrite this decision. But so I think it can be accidental, but in some cases they just want to know, like maybe fly over the airport, they think it's cool, or they think if they can get very close to an aircraft, it's really cool, so which
Okay.
is really dangerous.
Yeah.
So they try to fly a drone near an aircraft that's landing to get some shots of that aircraft maybe landing. So
Yeah.
it's pretty dangerous.
Agreed. Yeah. No. So I find this project really, really cool. Yeah.
Would you ever consider working like directly for like the like either Department of Defense? Because I feel like your research definitely would entail like, or it leaves a lot. Or I don't know. The Department of Defense could definitely benefit from what you're doing directly, I guess.
I think, yeah, it happened kind of. I didn't meant to, I think, work in this line of research, but it happened right
Yeah.
after I found the loophole and then all of the privacy concerns. And then here, somehow, I found this project related. So it kind of, it was a little bit random, but it happened. I think I prefer to stay in academia, but uh, there's always the possibility of collaborating. For example, like as I said, like Department of Defense of Canada gave me a grant when I was in Canada to work on this research, and
No.
then I think they can benefit from the results of these projects.
Absolutely. That's really cool. Yeah. Wow. Awesome. So I know it's a bit of a interview type question, but where do you see yourself in the future?
A university professor.
Right.
It's very easy. So so my plan is like I think within like this year, later this year, I will apply for a faculty position because I want to just find a permanent position.
Yeah.
My position the position that I had at Waterloo was a contract
Okay.
position. So it was not a tenure track faculty position. So I knew it's temporary, and I kind of extended more than what I intended initially because of COVID. All of a sudden, there was no position. It was difficult, so I kind of extended that a little bit. And now I'm here, and hopefully this year I apply. So yeah, I think I'm going to continue working on these kind of projects, but I have still so many ideas in mind that I I don't have the bandwidth to implement all of these
Of
things
course.
myself. So
Yes.
hopefully I can have some PhD students, graduate students who can help me to speed up all of these ideas. We are sometimes I have like four projects in my mind. It's like which one should I work on? It's
Yeah.
tough, right? Sometimes I say, okay, today it's just this project, or like tomorrow that project. It's difficult. I'm round robining between them, but hopefully with a good team of research that I will gather soon in
Yeah.
the next few years, we can do more impactful research.
Yeah. Amazing. That's awesome. Yeah. Cool. And just our last question that we ask everybody: what is something that you want the world to know about you? It can be anything fun or anything.
Well, about me, so I think for me it would be about what we are working on, about our research, and I think these are good opportunities to talk about different aspects of what we do. So, and also to emphasize, especially when you work about privacy and security, people may say, "Why they do these kind of research? I mean, it's just bad. Don't do this, right? Why would you build a drone that can find the location of all devices?" The issue is people with bad intention will sooner or later find out about these,
Yeah.
and it's not like we designed the specialized hardware. No, we built everything from we bought everything from Amazon for like under $20
Yeah.
for that drone project, except the drone itself, which was more expensive. But the breathing rate attack I'm talking about, under $10, under
Wow.
$10 possible. So now the question is, so it's not like, okay, we're not giving people hardware that they didn't have. No, it's available. It's just a matter of some software. It's not crazy complex. So eventually they figure it out. So it's best to, I think, research these things and try to patch these problems before bad players start to use them.
Absolutely.
So that's I think what I want to say. Yeah, that's our intention. That's we are researchers, so we want to do, I think, responsible hacking, if you may call it,
Yeah.
or people say like I think white hat hackers.
Yep.
We are kind of like that.
Fantastic. Wow. Yeah.
Excellent answer.
And we work with companies, right? We work with informed companies about, like, for example, back in 2020 when I found a loophole, I gave a talk at Google.
Oh.
And I'm going to give another talk about this drone project at Google. I meant to do this last year, but I got sick, so I had to say, oh, let's call it off because it was in person. So,
Right.
so we're going to schedule it soon, probably this month. So that's what I do, right? So I inform them about, so these are big players, right? So that they know about these issues, so that if they can fix something, they do.
Wow. That's so impressive.
Yeah. Well, this was absolutely incredible.
It
Amazing
really was.
conversation.
Yes,
Thank
we
you
were-
so much.
Yeah, we were really looking forward to it, and we had so much fun talking to you, and we learned a lot.
Yeah, I learned a lot.
Yep.
I had a lot of fun too. Thanks so much for doing this.
I'm
That's
glad.
great.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.